Hello everyone, today we have something special. Today I'm gonna give you my thoughts on The Best That Money Can Buy by Jacque Fresco. I learned about Jacque Fresco and the Venus Project a while ago actually, and recently I've made up my mind and I decided to purchase that book, which cost me $25 by the way. Yeah, this video is just my thoughts on it. If you haven't read it yet and if you plan on reading it, maybe watch this video afterwards. As I was reading the book, I kept writing down my thoughts and any quotes that I found interesting or anything like that, and I have all of that written down. So I'm gonna read it to you now if you don't mind. So the first note that I have is: the idea is there, but so is the complicated language, which for some people it forces them to think, but for others it makes them leave the book and move on to something else because it's just too hard. The aim of changing the world will never be achieved, therefore, because people won't even finish reading the book. And that is something that has been my concern all throughout, like, as I was reading the book, almost every chapter, I just kept thinking, God, people aren't going to read this because it's just, it's not an easy read. You really have to focus, and especially if English is not your first language, you're gonna have to focus twice as much as normal people. Yeah, so anyway, so the idea is there, but the language is so complicated at times that I feel like it might be hard for people to um, understand what this is about, to find the energy to read all of this and to try to understand what this person had in mind and stuff like that. So it definitely, the book is written in a complicated language, and it might be a problem. It doesn't have to be, but it might be. With the complicated language come long sentences as well. Understanding each and every message may prove itself impossible. Yeah, that's what I meant. There are serious claims in this book. For example, one describing today's society as insane, which is such strong wording that no matter the context, it will offend people. There's some talk about aliens and religion as if it was universally known that the first exists and the second is a bunch of BS. Those things are not universally known, however, and the book fails to take that into consideration. Moreover, it is said that alien beings are far ahead of us in every aspect of life. That's what's stated in that book, which is, well, a little bit out there. I mean, there's no proof of that. I mean, of course, the existence of aliens is possible, but there's no proof of them being more advanced or even of them being there as of now. You know, like, at least it's not general, like it's not presented as a fact to the general public. It's not, you know, maybe there is proof somewhere, maybe some people know about it, but it's not, I mean, not everyone knows about it. And the general idea is still that, oh, there may be aliens there, they may not be, and that basically we don't know. You know, that's what it is. There are statements such as peace is simply a pause between wars, which are highly negative and are sort of implying that everything is wrong. You know, there are also statements implying that we will have to change everything we've built, buildings, dams, etc., etc., plus our language to make it more scientific and less ambiguous. That's what the book proposes. I don't know about that. Here's a quote from the book. The language used by the average person is inadequate for resolving conflict, but the language of science is relatively free of ambiguities and the conflicts prevalent in our everyday, emotionally driven language. I mean, you can't say things like this. It's not true. Our language will undergo considerable modification. The future evolution of our language cannot be comprehended within the bounds of its current use. It must undergo continuing refinement and increase its scope of meaning before it will be an effective means of communication between people. Now, I disagree with this. We already have thousands of words, plus body language, plus our appearance. You know, we have the means to communicate. just need to make sure that everyone learns their native tongue and English as much as they should. That's all. Also, there are sentences which aim to show that the book is a little bit ingenious. Also, statements which aim to show that others tried doing this and that but have failed. However, we will succeed because blah blah blah, and it all sounds a bit, well, a bit big-headed, if you will. Moreover, the book introduces some weird concepts. There's a chapter on love, and it talks about something almost entirely unrelated. It's weird, and I think you'll understand what I'm talking about when you read it. Yeah, it's just a little weird. There is insufficient info as to what would motivate people to do stuff in a resource-based economy. Which means when they have all they need at hand, basically, and they don't need to work and pay money for this and that because it's there for free. There's not enough explanation as to what will motivate people. What will be the reason for them, not to sit in the house and do nothing and just do things that they like, Yeah, there's just not enough explanation. Then we have the person who wrote the book doesn't seem to understand that although he introduces some great values and talks about the people of the future as these all-round great, free of prejudice, creative creatures, the people of now are already here and are already formed in one way or another, have their beliefs, values, or sometimes no values. And how do you change that? How do you change a person, make them transition to this great future human? That is something that I worry about. Another thing that I've noticed is the book and the Venus Project are meant to change the world, but the cover image of this book and the promotion in general, like their Facebook page and stuff like that, just doesn't have the right look. It is a bit dodgy, and I feel like it can scare people away, therefore. When you go on their Facebook page, you can see like pictures of people holding up signs, I support the Venus Project. But most of these people, those pictures are they just don't look good, you know what I mean? It just looks like some kind of, I don't know, secret society or something with weird people sometimes. And it's just, anyway, I just feel like the whole thing doesn't have the right look. More quotes. So there's a quote that says, "Today living systems conform to the world by natural process or they perish. In the future, machine systems will adjust the world according to specifications set by an emerging culture, a culture that will hopefully be dedicated to universal human and environmental well-being." What? What does that mean? What does that mean that in the future machine systems will adjust the world according to specifications set by humans? What the hell? What is this? The book features lots of scientific wording and talk about robots and stuff like that. And I gotta say, I would like somebody who's deeply in this field, like a scientist, to look at this and examine what is said here and say if this is real, if this is even possible. But it might be the case that we won't get much from that, because the scientists will only have something vague to say, like, yeah, it's a possibility sometime in the future, and I feel like that could be the case. Like, it's such, when you read it, it feels like science fiction. It feels like something that might be possible, but far, far away in the future, and probably not on this planet. But if we were to go on some other planet and create life there, then this might be a good idea to organize things in this way that they promote in this book, but otherwise it's a little bit weird. Anyway, okay, so there were 3 chapters that I found the most interesting and the most inspiring. The first is When Government Becomes Obsolete. That one, just focus on that one when you read the book. Then another one is Clean Sources of Energy, very interesting as well. And another one is Changing Human Nature, very, very interesting as well. Check out these 3 chapters. Okay, another quote from the book. If we had applied just 1/10 of what we've spent on military equipment to the development of geothermal generators, we could have long ago solved any energy shortages. wow. I mean, if this is something that shocked me. If this is true, if this is actually true, then we are dumb as hell. Now, I have to say, overall, I was very surprised because there are my thoughts written in that book, only expressed in a more intelligent and sophisticated way. Every couple of sentences, every couple of paragraphs, maybe, I just found something, a sentence or an entire paragraph that just reflected my thoughts exactly. You know what I mean? And it's just, yeah, it just hasn't happened to me a lot before. So after reading those 3 chapters that I've mentioned previously, I was so impressed with this book that I wrote something like this. Isn't it better to invest in something like this, to make this a worldwide project, rather than sit around and create yet new laws, trying to fix things in a system that's damaged and faulty already? To me, it seems like we don't have alternatives. I haven't heard of a more innovative and smart solution than this. I don't understand why this isn't being given more attention and discussed in schools, boards of this and that, everywhere basically. Um, yeah, I really feel like we do not have alternatives. I haven't heard of anything better than this. I think that the main thing is just trying to determine if this is really, if 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 we introduced a resource based economy, and if we declared all the world's resources as the common heritage of all people, let's assume that we do that, that we basically scrape the borders and just create this sort of unified world, which still has its differences, but you know what I mean. If we did that, would it be possible to do all those things that they say in this book? Would it be possible to create a world like this? I feel like there needs to be a team of people coming from different areas of life, being specialists in different areas of life, looking into this right now. It should be happening right now, because this is really something that we can. I feel like we should try something like this. If not this exactly, we should try something like this. Okay, another quote from the book. You cannot identify the factors responsible for behavior through the study of individuals alone, but rather through a study of the cultures in which individuals are nurtured. The differences between a Native American, a thief, and a banker are not found in their genes, but instead reflect the environment in which they were raised. This is really smart. And like I said, after reading those 3 chapters, I was so impressed with the book that I wrote something like this. To be honest with you, the more I think about it, the more I seem to be coming to a conclusion that there is no other way but to do things as described in this book. Because all the moves that we're trying to make now are too small and won't change the big picture. We're not doing enough about the underlying causes of problems. People don't really talk about this stuff because we can talk about school, about work. Oh, how's your college situation? How's your roommate situation? I don't know, how are the kids, or how's work, or whatever. We can talk about stuff like that. Or someone's opening a business. Oh, great, how is it going? But we don't really talk about this sort of stuff because it's too complicated, and it's too. It requires a lot of imagination and being very open. The proposed world seems to be the best it is possible to imagine right now. However, there is one thing missing, one very important thing: how to transition. That is something that the book doesn't describe, and I think that's the biggest problem here. There is no way to transition from this big, big, complex world that we have right now, the free enterprise system, the democracy, and stuff like that. There is no way to transition from this to that. And the most important thing is, it's not the system and it's not the way things work. People, it's going to be very hard to persuade people to try something like this, to even think about something like this, because this when you read this book, this sounds like a whole new world. It doesn't seem like it's something that we've ever seen before or even imagined before. It sounds like something completely new. So, yeah, like I said, it's a great idea, but for a new planet, it seems. It just doesn't seem like there is a way to transition, and it's definitely not described here. And I don't think they even have plans or ideas as to how to do it, because All that you can find on their website is that they are planning to build an experimental city, the first city that is meant to operate the way um, they describe in this book. But what's that gonna accomplish? I mean, you can build an experimental city, but and then what? Like there is no. The book talks about the fact that in the future, lots of today's human behavior and the way things work might be looked upon with outrage, and I fully support that because this is what I think very very often when I find myself in certain situations. So. Yeah, definitely support that. What the book points out mostly is that because of the monetary system and the need to earn, make profit, and make as much of it as possible, good ideas are lost in the process. Technology just isn't used to the extent that it should be. Because there are special agendas, business, or special interests, and the profit of the few at the top. There is a lot of talk about science. Science is a thing that they extol to such an extent, and there are these little offensive sentences suggesting that people who think this way or this way are stupid. They don't use the word stupid, obviously. They use other more sophisticated words, but that's what they're implying, essentially. Honestly, the whole reading experience feels like it's like someone made you sit down and started telling you about life, about the world. And he knows everything, has all the secrets, and you know nothing. That's kind of how it feels reading that book. It's a little irritating at times, but most of the things that they say in there, I reckon that they're right, so. And the book proposes building these new circular shaped modern cities from the ground up. And these cities are supposed to be environmentally friendly and more or less self-sustaining. However, it doesn't change the fact that they want the entire world to live in these cities. And my question is, what happens to the cities that we have now? Do we abandon them, let nature take over, maybe demolish them? You think that anyone is going to agree to that? And the book is all about the Earth's carrying capacity, but where's the space to build these new cities that are supposed to accommodate all of the world's people? What are we supposed to do? Just double the amount of land that we've already used to build new cities that they propose here? That seems silly. Doesn't seem environmentally friendly at all. Doesn't seem to be making sense. And they say that the buildings and apartments will vary in size, shape, and general appearance. To me, they all look very similar though. White, weird looking. Yeah, that's true. Also gray, but yeah, they say that it's all gonna be very different, and you're gonna be able to choose, and it's gonna be interesting. It's not gonna be all the same. But when you look at the projects and when you look at I don't know. I just feel like it just, I just don't. That look just doesn't reason with me. So just a few more quotes. This time straight from the book, because what I was doing up until now, I was reading from my phone the notes that I've made, and now I'm just gonna go to the book and just find the highlighted areas and talk a little bit about that. So, laws are at best attempts to placate or control a population, and they work only sporadically. Another method designed to control human behavior is early indoctrination toward a given set of values, such as patriotism, propaganda in the national interest, or nationalism. In this way, the citizenry is programmed to support an existing government and unaware that other options are available. Another safeguard used by and for politicians is the pushing of the concept of personal responsibility, that we are all responsible for our own shortcomings, failures, and misfortunes. In fact, in accordance with natural laws that govern all activities, most of our actions are determined by the circumstances that surround us. Many so-called free choices are greatly influenced by the culture and values of our times. People cry out for laws to relieve hunger, poverty, war, oppression, and scarcity, but the answer lies in removing the conditions that are responsible for these problems. There is so much economic deprivation and insecurity, even in the most affluent nations, that no matter what laws are enacted, the problems persist. The legislators passing laws have permitted gross violations and often break the law themselves. and that is something that I can agree with 100%. So there's that. This is very good. Many people today use genes as a scapegoat for aberrant behavior when the major influences have been shown to be environmental. Genetic makeup alone cannot fully explain or illuminate human behavior. The science of human behavior is a complex algorithm of genes, environmental conditions, food, shelter, family dynamics, education, religious training, personal experiences, and the interpretation and decisions people make about the world and their place in it. Because of the fact that the Venus Project and book proposes the use of technology so much and machines and stuff like that in the future, they say something like this. There is no evidence of machines acting against human beings of their own accord, except in naive science fiction stories. Humans program machines and direct their use. It is not machines that are to be feared, it is the misuse and misdirection of these machines by people that threaten humankind. We must not forget that the bombing of cities, the use of nerve gas, prisons, death camps, and torture chambers have all been managed and operated by human beings, not machines. Even atomic weapons and guided missiles are built and directed by people. People pollute the environment, our air, oceans, and rivers. The use and sale of harmful drugs, the distortion of truth, bigotry, and racial hatred are all part of flawed human systems and false indoctrination. That sounds too true to me, honestly. I don't know why I'm smiling because it's sad, but yeah. Okay, this is something. See, sometimes this book is so smart, and then they put in something like this. Children find animated toys exciting and interesting. In the new schools, they could develop their own animated toys. Before they actually build these models, they would be instructed in the necessary crafts. As they develop skills in working with tools for soldering, wiring, bonding, and fabricating, they can actually see and use the results. This would give them an appreciation of the effort that is required to make items they might otherwise take for granted. They could constantly learn to apply high safety standards while working with simple and eventually more complex machines. Come on, do I need to explain why this is stupid? Children aren't going to build their own animated toys. God, children aren't going to build machines. Please, just why would you write something like this? This is ridiculous. Have you ever spent time with a child? It doesn't work like that. Oh, okay. This is good. Underground or subterranean cities of the future could be total enclosure dome systems. One purpose of the first subterranean mega city might be to research the possibilities of sustaining life forms on inhospitable planets. Many underground cities could be built in inhospitable regions of our planet. And now listen to this. They can provide an ideal climate year-round with lush gardens and waterfalls. Come on! What are we talking about here? This is science fiction. You think we're gonna build lush gardens and waterfalls and some sort of domes underneath the ground? Come on. And this book claims that we already have the technology and all the stuff, to accomplish all this, but no, we do not, and no one's gonna build that, and it's not gonna work. And if we built that, there would probably be some sort of tragedy coming out of it, like people would die definitely while doing something like this, or the waterfall would flood the place or something. I don't know. It's just we have to stay here, not somewhere there. Okay. And they say, at first glance, our proposal for a city of the future may appear impracticable, yet it represents an achievable, sustainable, and sophisticated environment that is designed to bring out the best in human potential. So not only Jacque Fresco claims to have designed the perfect social system and basically the system of everything, he also claims to have designed the perfect city. Perfect environment to bring out the best in human potential. Wow. This is just all a little bit too much, you know what I mean? sometimes when you read this. Like there are very smart things said in this book, and then you encounter something like this, and there are things that are much worse than this, and it's just yeah. Mm. Okay, listen to this. Probably the only thing we can know for sure about the future is that it will be very different from the world of today. But whatever difficulties we have trying to understand life in the future, it is nothing compared to the difficulty people of the future will have understanding the way we do things today. They will likely find it hard to believe that human beings organize themselves in such an absurd fashion into nations and then set about using scientifically designed weapons to slaughter each other. Well, this is an interesting way of looking at it, and this is very smart. But then listen to this. As they watch movies of the past, they will probably be astounded at tobacco smoke emanating from people's nostrils and at ostentatious clothing and omnipresent jewelry. Moreover, they will find our simple animal like emotions of hostility, rage, and jealousy incredible. No, they're not. I mean, look, no matter how great this world that Jacque Fresco proposes may be, and even if we manage to build something like this, it doesn't mean that rage, all hostility, and what else did they say here? Jealousy, will disappear. No, they won't. These are you. I mean, see, this is why people may call this utopia, the thing that he wants to create, is because of sentences like this, this is just not real. This is not going to happen. These things are not going to disappear. Just because we create some kind of great world, much better than the one that we have now, supposedly, those things will still be here. We will still feel those things. Especially maybe hostility, but rage and jealousy, that will still happen. No matter how perfect the world that we, Overall, trying to sum up everything that I've read, the entire book and the quotes and everything else that I said in this video, I do not agree with everything that is written in this book. However, it doesn't change the fact that, like I said, every couple of sentences or paragraphs, I found a sentence or an entire paragraph that just reflected my thoughts exactly on something. So that has never happened before. So I'm really surprised. I love those 3 chapters that I've mentioned before. They're very smart. They have very interesting information in them, and they're really great. The rest, the whole technological aspect of this book, I feel like that has to be, like, we should get somebody who knows that stuff, a scientist or somebody, to look into this and to really try to determine, is this possible or not? Is this science fiction or not? We should try. We need not just one person, but a team of people really to look into this technological side. Because as you're reading a book, you can even find pictures of these machines that Jacque Fresco describes here. But still, it's all until somebody who really knows the stuff looks at this, a whole team of people, we cannot determine whether this is real, this is possible, or this is pure fantasy and it's probably not possible. Or it may be possible, but in like 1,000 years or something. I don't know what else. I mean, I have mixed feelings, really. If I had to decide whether I support the project or not, that's the simple decision that I have to make, then I would say I support the project. Because I have watched interviews with that man, with Jacque Fresco, a while ago, true, but I have watched them, and I remember him as being a very, it just, I can't explain it, but it was, the vibe that I got from him was very good, and I felt like he had just a good heart, and like he really spent his entire life trying to, bring this idea to fruition, and and he accomplished a lot, but still, the idea was completely different. I think we have to do something. That's the reason behind all this, We have to do something, because the current system, well, isn't perfect. Maybe the people that have lots of money and are overall lucky in life can say that, oh, life on Earth is pretty cool as it is, but everyone else is going to agree with me that it it could be better. Lots of things could be done in a better way. And it's not so much about building this first experimental city. I don't think that should be their objective. I think that what matters is trying to get people to understand that the current system is not going to work, does not work, that we need something better. It just feels like people should be able to see that the world that we've created isn't what it should be. Even the simplest things, like how can I live, how can I be happy, even if I have lots of money, a pretty good life, and I've been pretty lucky all over. So many things are happening that should not be happening. And I know that, and I'm gonna live and just act like it doesn't matter, because that's what all of us do. Most of us are aware in one way or the other that the world isn't perfect, that there's so much that's wrong here, that we've messed up, and we just go about our lives like it's not true, but it is. I guess we don't have a choice, because if we started thinking about it too much, then we would all be depressed, and then nothing would work the way it works, and it just, it's an endless circle, and that's why we need a change, because it's an endless circle. So that is all. These are my thoughts on The Best That Money Can Buy by Jacque Fresco. By the way, if you have read this book or wanted to read it, may I suggest checking out my own book, because I think that you might find it interesting. If you are interested in that sort of stuff, you might find my book interesting as well. Because the point of my book is kind of similar. I'm trying to change the world, So, yeah, I gotta get something to eat. See you in the next video. Bye.